Once upon a time, in a small, quiet town named Harmonyville, there lived a kind-hearted pastor named Reverend Samuel. He had dedicated his life to serving the church and its congregation, spreading love, faith, and hope to all who crossed his path. For many years, Reverend Samuel had been a pillar of strength for the community, providing solace and guidance during their darkest hours. However, as the years passed, Harmonyville experienced a series of economic downturns. The once prosperous town was now grappling with unemployment, dwindling businesses, and struggling families. Unfortunately, this downturn began to affect Reverend Samuel personally. The church's collection plate grew lighter with each passing Sunday, and the donations that had once supported his modest lifestyle were now barely enough to put food on his table. Reverend Samuel, despite his financial struggles, remained resolute in his faith. He never complained or allowed his congregation to see the depths of his financial despair. Instead, he continued to preach messages of hope and resilience, inspiring the townsfolk to remain strong in the face of adversity. One cold winter's day, as the snowflakes gently fell from the sky, Reverend Samuel received a knock on his small, weathered door. He opened it to find Mrs. Thompson, a widow who had recently lost her job and was struggling to feed her 3 children. Tears welled up in Mrs. Thompson's eyes as she explained her dire situation to the pastor. She had heard about Reverend Samuel's own financial hardships, but she also knew he was a man of unwavering compassion. "Reverend Samuel," she began, her voice trembling with emotion, "I hate to ask this of you, but my children haven't had a proper meal in days. I don't know where else to turn." Reverend Samuel smiled warmly and invited Mrs. Thompson inside. He offered her a comforting cup of tea and assured her that everything would be all right. Deep down, he knew he had little to give, but he couldn't turn away someone in need. That night, Reverend Samuel couldn't sleep. He thought long and hard about how he could help Mrs. Thompson and her children. In the morning, he made a decision. He decided to sell his most treasured possession, an old family heirloom, a pocket watch that had been passed down through generations. With the money from the sale, Reverend Samuel bought groceries and warm winter coats for Mrs. Thompson's family. When he delivered the much-needed supplies to her doorstep, she burst into tears of gratitude, overwhelmed by the pastor's selflessness. News of Reverend Samuel's sacrifice soon spread throughout Harmonyville. Moved by his example, the townspeople rallied together, contributing what little they had to help not only Mrs. Thompson, but also the pastor himself. They knew that he had always been there for them, and now it was their turn to support him in his time of need. In the end, the love and kindness of the community lifted Reverend Samuel from his financial hardships. Harmonyville began to recover from its economic struggles, and the church's collection plate once again overflowed with generosity. Reverend Samuel learned that even in his own times of need, his faith and compassion had a way of inspiring others to come together and make a difference. He continued to serve his community with unwavering dedication, and Harmonyville remained a place where faith, hope, and love thrived, no matter the challenges they faced.